Hello, friends. You've probably heard tales of the Moguls, pharaohs, and the extravagance of empires before, but today, we are going to tell you the story of a Roman emperor from the once mighty superpower, the Roman Empire. This emperor, known as Nero Claudius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, or simply Nero, was born 37 years after the time of Jesus Christ. He was the great-nephew of the Emperor Augustus, who ruled Rome. Nero's mother was secretly married to Emperor Claudius, and it was under his rule that Nero was adopted and named as the heir to the Roman throne. Some historians suggest that Lady Agrippina had a hand in the death of Emperor Claudius, and after his passing, Nero was quickly placed on the imperial throne at the age of 17 with the approval of the Roman legions. For the first 5 years of Nero's reign, it was, in reality, his mother Agrippina who made all the decisions on behalf of the Nero dynasty. Nero was not seen as a legitimate ruler by the public. Agrippina and her command held significant influence, and they even poisoned Britannicus, the 13-year-old son of Emperor Claudius, to ensure there were no competing claims to the throne. First, let's talk about his domestic life. After being engaged to the heir of Emperor Paradisus, Nero married Claudia Octavia, the daughter of Claudius, and his stepsister. This was seen as an unsuccessful marriage. According to historians, Nero never gave her the status of a wife and avoided her, to the point of not even talking to her. According to Tacitus, it was a marriage made in hell. Nero later entered into a relationship with Poppaea Sabina, who was already married. According to some sources, Nero poisoned his first wife, Octavia, and married Poppaea. Nero and Poppaea lived together happily for a while. However, Nero's life took a turn when Poppaea died, possibly due to complications from childbirth. A year later, Nero married Statilia Messalina, a young widow, but he continued to spend most of his time in lavish parties and entertainment. Nero's life took another unexpected twist when he fell in love with Sporus, a young boy, and made him his castrated concubine. He even went as far as to have Sporus dressed like his former wife, Poppaea. It is said that this boy, Sporus, bore a striking resemblance to Nero's late wife. Perhaps this was the reason Nero became so infatuated with him. So, friends, it may sound strange, but history has witnessed that when Nero found this young boy, he was so enamored with him that he made him his companion, taking him on trips to remote places. Nero even gave his current wife, Statilia, the status of a slave girl to Sporus. Now, let's talk about the nature of his rule. Friends, the initial years of his rule are often depicted as glorious and ideal. During this time, he was guided by his mother and a few mentors. He showed great interest in culture, games, and trade. He built theaters for the people, where games and stage dramas were held, and even Nero himself participated. He cultivated an image of himself as a poet, actor, and athlete among the public. However, when his guiding influences disappeared, he fell into reckless living and extravagance. He imposed severe taxation on the people, especially Christians, making him one of the worst emperors in history. Nero's era witnessed a catastrophic event in Rome known as the Great Fire of Rome, remembered as the Great Fire of Rome. It began in the Circus Maximus and slowly engulfed Rome, leaving 10 out of 14 districts affected, with 4 completely destroyed. During this time, there was no practical response from Nero's government, and when the fire was raging, it led to widespread looting and chaos by elements of lawlessness. It is said that the fire eventually died out on its own, but not before causing extensive destruction in most parts of Rome. Some historians suggest that Nero started the fire himself, as is often believed. During the fire, he was busy at his palace playing the lyre while Rome burned. Nero's response was not immediate, but when he heard of the fire, he didn't do what was necessary for Rome's rebuilding. He did not open his palaces to provide shelter, and he did not order food supplies for the homeless. However, it is also believed that Nero started the fire to get an opportunity to clear out some areas for his own ambitious construction projects. The fire is famous for giving rise to the phrase "Nero fiddled while Rome burned," although historians debate whether Nero actually played the fiddle, lyre, during the fire. After the fire had subsided, Nero faced a major problem funding the reconstruction of Rome. To achieve this goal, he imposed heavy taxes on both the rich and the poor. These taxes led to resentment among the people, and a sense of rebellion began to brew. It was around this time that Nero's rule took a turn for the worse. Nero also tried to shift the blame for the fire onto the Christians. He ordered brutal persecution and executions of Christians, making them scapegoats for the disaster. This period saw the rise of widespread theft, deception, and corruption. Nero's lust for wealth led him to employ bandits who would freely loot and plunder. They were given a free hand to rob and terrorize the populace, and the situation became so dire that Rome was effectively burning while Nero played his instruments. Some historians believe that when Nero realized the extent of the devastation, he fled from his palace with his entourage, including his male wife Sporus. In the end, Nero, at the age of 31, chose to end his own life through suicide in 68 AD. He became the youngest and the first Roman emperor to commit suicide, leaving a legacy of a tumultuous reign filled with extravagance, oppression, and the catastrophic Great Fire of Rome.